फोन में फोन में आप तो पढ़ी
धनपालो नाम कुंजरो कटुक भेदनो दुर्निवारयो बद्धो कबड़ं न भुंजति सुमरति नागवनस्य कुंजरो।
धनपाल नाम का कुंजर हाथी हो तो इसमें कटुक भेदनो दुर्निवार। कटुक भेद में कहते हैं then the elephant is in blood, there is some emission from the ear. कटुक में कान से कुछ उसके सैप, then in that state he is दुर्निवार है, उसको कंट्रोल करना बहुत ही मुश्किल। बद्धो कमलम न भुंजति, मान देते हैं तो वो भोजन का एक मॉर्सल, एक छोटा सा भोजन भी नहीं खाता है। क्यों? सुमरति नागवनस्य कुंजरो, अपने नाग की जो उसका वन था जहाँ पे उसकी फैमिली है, उसके उनको याद करके वो अपना खुद को याद है, तो खाना तक नहीं खाता है। रिमेंबर हिज एलिफेंट रोल। Story here is about a merchant. So he sounds so relevant even in modern times probably. So एक merchant होता है, वो अपने बच्चों को सारी संपत्ति, he puts it everything in his name, in their name of their children when he dies. तो जब उनका सब कुछ आया था तो उसको निकाल देते। Then he goes, becomes penniless and starts begging. तो एक दिन वो उनके पास आया था तो तरीका निकालो इसका। So he tells him that जहाँ पे भी लार्ज गैदरिंग में लोगों की गाँव में मिलते रहते हैं, so there you should tell in the meeting all the story of yours. मुझे बताइए वो सारी उनको सबके सामने बता दिया। So then when they came, the sons were also present in some meetings and he told बच्चों को थोड़ा बुरा लगा और लोगों ने उनको डांटा वाटा, तो then they started taking good care of it. तो जितना खाना हर एक चार उसके घर बेटे थे तो हर एक खाना खाली भेज देते थे। तो दो खाते थे और दो भगवान बुद्ध को दान करते। एक बार वो उन्होंने उनके बड़े बेटे ने भगवान बुद्ध को बुलाया, तब उन्होंने ये वर्ष कही कि धनपाल जो है वो जो बंधा हुआ होता था तब भी अपने पिता माता पिता को याद करता था कि जंगल में वो लोग। So indirectly he was trying to tell them that he should have remembered. अब इसको रखिए।
मिद्धि यदा होती महाग्रस्तो च निदायता संपर्यवतस्ते महाब्रहोवा निवापकृतो पुनः पुन्नम गब्बमुति मंदो।
मिद्धि मतलब जो आलसी होता है, हिंदी में कहते हैं हमारे जो हिंड्रेंस है, स्लगिश। यदा होती महाभसो, महाभसो में बहुत खाने वाला। जब एक आदमी स्लगिश है, ईट्स टू मच, निर्दायिता सोते हुए संपरिवर्त सयो, rolls in sleep, and the analogy is given. Yes, that person is just like a pig who is lazy and keeps on rolling in the food or in the pig तो वो गंदगी खाता है ना, keeps on rolling there. पुनः फनन गब्बम उपेति मंदो, सचे ऐसा मंद लोग जो मंद बुद्धि वाला बार बार पुनः गर्भ में आता है, is born again. The story is very interesting that you could say this to a king. It's a story about a king, Prashanjit जो है कोशला का, वो भगवान भगवा जाता है एंड टेल्स आफ्टर फिनिशिंग ए हैवी मील, वहाँ जाके वो बात करता है तो सोता है, नींद आ रही होती है तो भगवान की बातों से परसेप्शन नहीं कर पाता, fell on sleep and then he apologized to Buddha and told him what is heavy meal. And Buddha replied in this verse saying that overeating causes problems. Then the king takes it and the story goes that he, इसमें तो नहीं है, that he tells him कि एक अपने servant को कहता है कि शायद एक और डिस्कोर्स का कोई जिसमें he tells him that overeat, भगवान बुद्ध ने कहा था कि लिमिटेड खाना खाना चाहिए. So he does that and then overcomes his gluttony and becomes much more agile.
इदं पूरे चित्तमाचारी चरिकं येनि चकं यथा कामं यथा सुखं तदा अजहं निगाह हिसाम्ये योनिसा हठि अभिनं विया अनको सगाहो.
चित्तम इदम पुरे, पहले चित्तम चारी चारी, आज से पहले मेरा मन जो है, चित्त जो है वो घूमता ही रहता था. चारी का मतलब घूमता, चारी का करते हैं वॉन्डरलेसली घूमता रहता था. ये न इच्छकम, जैसा इच्छा करता था, ये न यथा कम, जैसा उसको कामना होती थी वैसे घूमता था. यथा सुखम, जैसा उसको प्रिय लगता था. तद अजहम निग्रहे सामी, उसको आज से निग्रहे सामी, मैं उसको निग्रह रिस्ट्रेन करूँगा. योनिसो को properly I'll restrain that mind. What is the analogy? अत्थिपभिन्नम दिया अंकुश गहो, अंकुश का नहीं, अंकुश को ग्रहण करने वाला जो महावत होता है, जैसे कि एक महावत जो है जो अंकुश को ग्रहण करता है, एक एलिफेंट को कंट्रोल में कर देता है, उसी तरह से मैं अपने चित्त को कंट्रोल. Story is about a young novice who recited the teaching and at the end साधना करने के बाद समझ लीजिए पुण्य अनुमोदन. So he dedicated marriage to his parents. So a spirit which was his mother in previous birth, she heard it and was much respected in her other spirits in God. तो देवलोक में होगी तो उसको लगा कि she got some, felt good about it. So, but when this young boy grew up, he became dissatisfied with monk life. He went to see his mother in the present existence and told her that छोड़ दिया. तो उसने माने उसको परसुएट किया तो मत छोड़ो. अच्छा. And said ये बहुत अच्छी जगह है, तुम लोग don't but वो harm her. So then that spirit, previous life's mother, entered into his body. That's the story. And he started rolling on the floor. So people gathered and then told him what their advantages of being a monk and how he should not disrobe and then he will never get awakened. And then the spirit left. He decided then to continue the went back to the monastery and became ordained, and in due course he became a arhat and became a famous teacher. So we advised him, he recited this verse to tell Sami that you should control your mind in the same manner as a Mahavat controls the elephant. So ये मैं पढ़ देता हूँ. समादरता बोधा सच्चितम अनुरक्षता दुर्गा उदारत्थानम पंके सन्नो कुंजो. अपमादरता, अपमाद से दूर हो, डोंट बी हीडलेस, बोधा हो. सच्चितम अनुरक्षता, अपने मन को प्रोटेक्ट कर करो. अनुरक्षता में रक्षा करो, उसके अपने चित्त की रक्षा करो. दुर्गा उद्धर अथान अत्तान, बहुत जो गलत रास्ता है, गलत रास्ता तुमने लिया हुआ है। उद्धर अत्थानम, उससे अपने आप को निकालो, अत्थानम अपने को उद्धरत कर लो, उठा लो, लिफ्ट कर लो। जैसे ये पंक्ति सन्नो कंजरो, जैसे कि एक हाथी उसमें कीचड़ में जब फंस जाता है, अपने एफर्ट से उसको अपने आप को निकाल देता है। दैट इज द एनालॉजी गिवन। The story is about an elephant. Said that when it was strong and when young, very strong, but as it became old, he got trapped once in a pond and got stuck in the mud. So then the king sent some elephant trainers and they started to beat battle drums. So he remembered battle drums and just got up. And he heard it and his spirit rose and got up from the mud. So when Buddha heard about this story, he spoke this verse to his monks. Just as that old elephant got out of the mud, so you will also raise your spirits and get out of the mud of defilements. Nag मतलब elephant. All the verses have a it has a multiple meaning. It also refers to serpents, but it also means here all the verses have a reference to elephant.
Only elephants or other animals also. This hog one, the second one.
But yeah, reference to the
Mahavarahu.
It is a reference. Some here and there they have tried to जो किया होगा ना, जो जहान फिट बैठता है उसको
was as big as an elephant properly.
Fat elephant, well fed pig. So what next? आप कुछ अपनी नॉलेज शेयर करिए हमारे साथ। नहीं, इंडियन पिक्चर्स की नॉलेज शेयर करिए।
ऐसे कैसे रहे?
नहीं, कोई आप याद कर रहे हो क्या?
नहीं सर, बस कुछ ऐसे थोड़ी सी बोलने थोड़ी लगूंगा।
कैसे बोलते हो ये बताओ?
नहीं
चाय पिला दें?
नहीं कुछ दे देके बोलोगे? नहीं सर, ले देगी नहीं सर। कोई आप बात शुरू करें, उसमें मेरे को समझ में आएगा तो मैं
नहीं, फिर आप ये आर्टिकल पढ़ते, बहुत अच्छा आर्टिकल है। I read part of it, मैंने उसमें भी डाला था अपने फेसबुक में भी, इसमें देख पार्ट title is written by Ezra Baita, who have read the books, some of them, writes very well. So I hope that it will be quite good. It has really very good way of putting things. There is no one special to be. Subtitle is Escaping the Prison of Your Own Self-Image.
मैं एक थोड़ी सी चीज़ पढ़ना चाह रहा था, बहुत ही छोटी, वो मैं एक बार जस्ट ढूंढ लेता हूँ। कल शमित एक हमारे ग्रुप में है, उन्होंने कल दीपक को भेजी वो पढ़ने के लिए, तो मेरे को मैंने रखा था बहुत पहले एक बार। हाँ नहीं, वो मेरे पास पहले भी था। वो एक मैं आपका रिएक्शन चाहता था इस पर। इसमें वो छोटा सा ये, इन अ मदर्स वूम वर 2 babies। ये आपने सुना है क्या? पता नहीं। One asked the other, do you believe in life after delivery? So the other replies, why, of course. There has to be something after delivery. Maybe we are here to prepare ourselves for what we will be later. Nonsense, says the other. There is no life after delivery. What would that life be? I don't know, but there will be more light than here. Maybe we will walk with our legs and eat from our mouths. The other says this is absurd. Walking is impossible. And eat with our mouths? Ridiculous. The umbilical cord supplies nutrition. Life after delivery is to be excluded. The umbilical cord is too short. I think there is something and maybe it's different than it is here. The other replies, no one has ever come back from there. Delivery is the end of life. and in the after delivery it is nothing but darkness and anxiety, and it takes us nowhere. Well, I don't know, says the other, but certainly we will see mother and she will take care of us. Mother? You believe in mother? Where is she now? She is all around us. It is in her that we live. Without her there would not be this world. I don't see her, so it's only logical that she doesn't exist. To which the other replied, sometimes when you are in silence, you can hear her. You can
connection. Can you hear us? Yes. Okay.
No one special to be, escaping the prison of your own self-image. One of the main characteristics of a life of sleep is that we are totally identified with being a me. Starting with our name, our history, our self-images and identities, we use each one of these things to solidify the sense that we are living in our little subjective sphere. We experience ourselves as special, not in the normal sense of being distinguished or exceptional, but in the sense that we feel unique and subtly significant. Interestingly, our feeling of specialness is not just from having positive qualities. We can use even our suffering to make us feel unique and special. We not needing to be special, not needing to be any particular way, is what it means to be free. Free to experience our natural being, our most authentic self. For example, we all have images of ourselves that we unconsciously carry with us throughout our waking hours. Our self-images are the conceptions or pictures of how we see ourselves. We can have a self-image of being nice or competent or deep, or we may have a negative self-image, seeing ourselves as weak or stupid or worthless. Usually we try to focus on our positive self-images, and we often try to shape our external life to portray ourselves in the most favorable way. We live driven by the vanity of trying to look a particular way, mostly to gain the approval of those whose opinion is most important to us. Whether it's our clothes, our hair, our body, our radar for approval is constantly running, mostly unconsciously. This is true even with the car we drive, whether it's a Cadillac or a hybrid or a pickup truck. When we sit behind the wheel, it defines who we are to ourselves and to others, and we are usually totally identified with that image. Much of our life is spent trying to live out of our self-images, and we rarely have the inclination to look at them honestly. In fact, it is very difficult to be truly honest with ourselves, especially since we can simultaneously have both positive and negative self-images on board and may not recognize the inconsistencies. This is due to the fact that we all wear blinders, a psychological defense that doesn't allow one part of ourselves to see another part. For example, if we need to see ourselves as nice, we may ignore all of our harmful or self-centered qualities. Or if we need to see ourselves as unworthy, we will ignore all the positive data. This is actually quite common. Closely related to our self-images are our identities. How we define ourselves according to the roles we play, such as mother, businessman, meditator, athlete, and so on. The identities we assume don't have to make sense. For example, even though I have written 5 books and many published essays, I still don't have an identity of being a writer. And stranger still, even though I have been severely limited in my physical activities for over 20 years due to a chronic immune system condition, I still see myself as an athlete. Actually, it doesn't really matter whether our identities make sense. What matters is how attached to them we are in our need to define ourselves. Our self-images and our identities alike become part and parcel of the stories we weave about ourselves. Almost always, these stories are skewed versions of the truth concerning who we are, our history, our victimhood, why we are angry, and on and on. We are caught in a story when we tell ourselves, I am worthless or I am depressed or people should appreciate me. We are particularly caught when we say, I am this way because ... and then assign blame to others, our parents say, or to something that happened to us. We can also know we are wrapped up in one of our many stories if we have the thought, I am the kind of person who, or I am not the kind of person who. For example, I am the kind of person who has to be alone, or I am not the kind of person who can be disciplined. The point is, most of our stories are self-deceptions in that they are partially manufactured versions of the truth. Truths we adopt in order to feel a particular way, but living out of stories prevents us from living more genuinely. Another universal version of living out of stories is holding on to our beliefs, many of which are illusions. For example, most of us have the belief, the illusion, that we are in control or that we can be in control. We cling to this illusion because the fear of loss of control is one of our strongest fears. Even when we see all the evidence to the contrary, we still live our day-to-day life with the illusion that we are in the driver's seat. In fact, many of our personality strategies are based on this illusion. For instance, we think that following the control strategy to trying to please others will keep us safe from disapproval. or we may think that if we follow the control strategy of trying harder, we can make life go as we would like. The point is, each closely held belief, such as the illusion of control, defines us and limits us in many ways that we can't even see. Another universal illusion or story is the belief that we know is the truth. Is the belief that what we know is the truth. We believe our thoughts and our opinions, usually without ever questioning them, forgetting that they are all relative, flawed and limited. When we have an opinion about something or someone, we are rarely aware that it's just an opinion. The illusion or self-deception is that what we are believing is the truth. Yet, in spite of the basic insanity of believing our thoughts, we do it all the time. We firmly believe what we want to believe. We often won't even entertain other possibilities. In light of the fact that we can deceive ourselves about almost anything, honest self-observation is often a study in living free from illusions, particularly the illusions that narrowly dictate how we live our lives. Perhaps the most pivotal story we tell ourselves is the deep-seated illusion that we are one single permanent self. Yet simple observation would show us that we are really a collection of many me's or personas. Which me predominates depends on which self-image or identity we are believing in, and also on what other beliefs we are holding to in the moment. Which me predominates depends on which self-image or identity we are believing in, and also on what other beliefs we are holding to in the moment. The mood we are in also determines how we see things. If we are in a good mood, other people may seem fine to us, whereas in our mood turns sour, the exact same people may seem to be irritating. Or a more telling example, we can see ourselves as trustworthy and upright and firmly pledge that we won't engage in a particular behavior again, such as drinking or overeating. But 2 hours later, we may find ourselves doing the precise thing we sincerely believe we won't do. Often these versions of me are not even in touch with one another, which shows once more that our psychological blinders don't allow one part to see another part. Given that we have examples of similar situations every day, how can we continue to believe in the story of being a single unchanging self? In fact, the whole notion that who we are is limited to the story of a single self is perhaps the main illusion that spiritual practice addresses. This is why one of the deepest teachings is that there is no one special that we need to be. In other words, to be inwardly free means that we don't have to live out of our self-images and identities. We don't have to feel a particular way. We don't have to believe the stories we tell ourselves, the stories that dictate who we are and how we live. In order to experience the freedom of living a more authentic life, it is absolutely necessary that we drop our stories and illusions. This is certainly not easy to do, and it helps to know what it actually looks like to live authentically. First and foremost, living authentically means living with honesty, being willing to look at our own illusions and self-deceptions, questioning our self-images and self-limiting identities, examining the stories we view about ourselves, including our stories about our past and who we are. Many of our convictions, ideals and shoulds are just mental constructs born out of our conditioning. Do we have the courage to see them for what they are? Can we experience the freedom of no longer using them as props? We have to realize how our identities, convictions and stories hold up our sense of purpose and importance in order to subtly make us feel special. We count on these props to give us a feeling of solidity and security. When we lose one of these props, losing our job for example, or having a relationship failure, we naturally experience anxiety. Without our familiar supports, we are left with just ourselves, which is a frightening prospect. This is why we try to fill our lives with busyness and doing, as well as with our many diversions and entertainments, to guarantee that we are never left alone with ourselves. We don't want to feel that hole of emptiness. Some people even experience this when they have no plans for the day. Upon awakening, instead of looking forward to a free day of relaxation, there is a feeling of being lost. Who will I be? What will I do? This means that ability to be truly at home with oneself hasn't been cultivated. As we see through our illusions, identities and stories, they are less and less often able to dictate how we feel and how we live. This is what it means, in part, to live authentically, to no longer fool ourselves with illusions and self-deceptions. But in order to be free of them, we first have to see them with clarity and precision. What this requires more than anything is being open to our life, being willing to face the things we have never wanted to face. This includes our fears of rejection, unworthiness and uncertainty. To be open, to be present in turn allows us the possibility of no longer sleepwalking through life, seeking comfort and approval. The chance to stop living with the illusion that we have endless time. If we aspire to live more authentically, it's important that we don't set up unrealistic ideals. The ideal that we should always be present, or be able to drop all of our self-images, or never indulge ourselves in diversions. That would be a simplistic moral stance. A much healthier stance is that we at least need to have the intention to live more honestly and more awake, and also with more kindness toward ourselves whenever we falter, including when we don't look at ourselves with honesty, or when we waste time instead of meditating, or holler at somebody just because we are in a bad mood. Feeling guilty when these things inevitably happen is unnecessary and not at all helpful. What is helpful, however, is to occasionally feel remorse for not living from our true heart, for turning away from our aspirations to live more awake. On the long path of practice, we move from living from our self-images and our many stories to living more from our deepest values, our more authentic self. When I reflect on the teachers I have most admired, the values that stand out the most are honesty in looking at one's life, not settling for complacency, living with presence, inner quiet and inner strength, and living with appreciation and kindness, all of which contribute to true contentment. What gets in the way of this movement towards our authentic self more than anything is our insistence on identifying with the small self, preserving our narrow world of being special, of needing to look and feel a particular way. Dropping our identification with our small self no doubt requires courage, but we will have to break free of the complacency of the familiar. One student described to me how she was very caught in her vanity, to the point where she thought constantly about what she would wear and how she would look. I suggested she devote one day a week to having a bad hair day, when she would consciously and purposefully make her hair look not quite okay, to help free herself from what others think. Naturally, she had a lot of resistance, but after she tried it a few times, she found it so freeing, she started doing an occasional bad clothes day as well. Not needing to look a particular way gives us a direct taste of the freedom of no one special to be. I remember when one of my daughters, who was around 5 at the time, became very enthusiastic about dressing herself. She would put on 4 or 5 outfits at a time, each one layered on top of the other, so you would see just parts of each blouse or dress. The problem from my small-minded point of view was that she looked so strange, and at first I was a little embarrassed. But she was so excited about her outfits that I started to look anew, and I saw that she had her own aesthetic, which was actually quite pleasing. The point is, on a very simple level, she was living authentically, not according to the convention of how she was supposed to look, but according to her own inner sense. What's so sad is that we lose this naturally open mind as we grow older, and we become more and more concerned with fitting in, with looking right. our self-image becomes our master. One of my favorite aphorisms goes, dropping our facades, our identities, our stories, what remains? The answer, just being. Where this gets difficult is when it gets closer to home. An example is from John Lennon's song Imagine. Imagine there is no country, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. He was describing the freedom of giving up our fixed views, even on the things we take most for granted, such as our patriotism or our religious views, or our most cherished facades and self-images, or the stories we cling to as our truth, such as the story, I need someone to take care of me, or life is too hard, or I am worthless. An excellent question to ask ourselves is, who would I be without this story, this belief, this identity, this fear? The question takes courage, because we have to look beyond the safety of the familiar. But living just for safety is dangerous. Dangerous to anyone who wants to live authentically. It also takes honesty and precision to look at ourselves deeply, because we are identified with these views, stories and self-images as the unassailable truth. These things serve as a subtle barrier to experiencing our natural being, our most authentic self. This is why so much emphasis has to be placed on objective self-observation. Especially when we are in the midst of discomfort, we need to ask, what is my most believed thought right now? Once we see the thought clearly, our identification with our emotional state begins to lessen. To help diminish this identification with the narrow subjective experience of being a me even further, we can label our experience and thereby make it more objective. For example, if we find that we are hurt or afraid, instead of thinking I am hurt or I am afraid, we can say there is hurt or there is fear. In so doing, we are no longer equating I with hurt or fear. We can even use this technique with physical discomfort. Instead of saying I have headache or my back hurts, we can say there is pain. By using this simple approach, we can begin to free ourselves from our intense identification with our emotions and even with our body. Sometimes just repeating the phrase, no one special to be, can break our identification with whatever emotion or story we are caught in. Once we have objectified our thought process, in order to free ourselves even more completely, we must bring awareness to what it feels like physically to be caught in me. We ask ourselves, what is this? Or what is this experience? We then focus like a laser on the subjective experience of living in the narrow inner sphere of me-ness. What does it actually feel like, very specifically, to be holding on to an opinion or to be caught in a self-image or an emotion? When we do this repeatedly, the sense of who we are with all our stories loses its substantiality, its heaviness. There is a transformation out of the narrow subjective sphere into a more open experience of reality. When we bring awareness to our cherished self-images, such as our need to be special, they begin to lose their power over us. No longer puffing ourselves up or trying to stand out means we are coming closer to living like a white bird in the snow. That is, we no longer feel the inner compulsion to see ourselves or be seen in a particular way. There is no ulterior agenda. The result is true humility, no one special to be. To be no one special means we are psychologically free of the illusion of I as a me. We no longer see ourselves as a unique self, independent of the world around us, not holding on to any particular view or opinion, or the stories about our past and who we are, or the many self-images and identities we use to define our me. What remains? The presence of just being. This gives us an experiential taste of our most authentic self, with the inner knowing that who we truly are, our basic connectedness, is more than just our self-images, our stories, our body. We can then begin to relate to the clouds of myself as just clouds. We don't have to try to stop the clouds any more than we have to try to stop our thoughts. They don't go away, but there is a vast difference between identifying with the clouds and identifying with the vast sky within which the clouds appear. Identifying with the presence of just being rather than identifying with I as a me is like identifying with the sky, and from that awareness the clouds are never as real or as substantial as they appear from the inside. As awareness opens up, the objective fact of our basic connectedness becomes more than just an intellectual understanding.
I hope you liked it.
Any comment?
I hope you liked it.
Yeah.
एनालॉजी अच्छी है सर,
काफी अच्छी लगी।
स्लो वाला अच्छा है, हमको समझ नहीं आ रहा। What text is being read, it's good. What is the author's name? Isra.
There's a book called Authentic Life written by Christopher Strack.
Okay.
Authentic Life is the book written by Shambhala Publications, 2014. EZRADAYD.
Authentic self.
Authentic Life. The Authentic.
The authentic.
Published by Shambhala Publications.
So Rajesh Bujraja ने कुछ कह दिया है. Why does no one special excel?
Many things are so strongly entrenched in our psyche, you can't see them as clouds, you see them as reality. That is a real tough thing.
You don't want to see them, you want to think about them. That's really, we have this huge tendency just to analyze things in our mind and to actually see them in ourselves.
Not because we are not going to see them, we identify with it so strongly. We feel ऐसा ही कर रहा है, तो नहीं, can't really see it as a superposition, see it as a reality.
So what I find is that if we get this state in keep, we should see, even if we see at that moment I must see the reality for me, मुझे नहीं दिख रहा कि मैं identified हूँ, लेकिन मुझे यही दिख रहा है कि मैं ऐसा ही हूँ. At least it is, you are seeing it rather than you are believing it through thought process कि मुझे ऐसा होना चाहिए था कि वैसा नहीं होना.
उस समय तो अगर हम सजग हो जाए तो कोई बात ही नहीं. इवन रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव भी जैसे होता है ना कि रिट्रोस्पेक्टिवली भी हम रिफ्लेक्ट करें, इवन देन समथिंग इज सो stubbornly attached to our psyche that it doesn't dawn कि यार ऐसा नहीं है.
सर ये फोटो है सर, वो पेंटिंग बनाता है तो ऐसा लगता है कि ऐसे ही है दुनिया. आपने कभी कभी देखी है कि नहीं? सभी देखी. हमारी स्टोरी के थ्रू था एकदम बीच में ऐसे ही।
तो अजान शाह की एक कोटेशन है इसी तरह से, तो अजान शाह की एक कोटेशन है बिल्कुल ऐसी, don't try to be anything, don't try to be a meditator. The state where we get trapped in a particular image of a particular kind, which looks so nice and correct and ought to be there. So when I say,
क्या गलत है?
I should be a good person, I should be a meditator, I should be a spiritual seeker. And then many things which you wish to, अंदर से आता है कि कर लो, तो लगता है कि इस इमेज के साथ मैच नहीं, छोड़ दो, अंदर से लग रहा है कर लो, तो छोड़ दो, और सत्रह से इधर एक्सेप्शन है ना,
कैसे डिसाइड होगा कि क्या शीला है और क्या इमेज के कारण है?
कुछ नहीं तो डिस्क्राइब करना क्लियर, कुछ तो क्लियर है और कॉग्निटिव लेवल पे, और किसी की चोरी करोगे तो इट्स नॉट डन। अगर मन में इच्छा भी आती है, अगर अभी भी आ रही है चोरी करने की या कुछ गलत काम करने की या हत्या करने की या समथिंग ऑफ दैट काइंड, आई डोंट नो,
सारी चीजें इतनी ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट
नहीं, कुछ नहीं तो ही जाती है, समथिंग इज quite clear, something may be ambiguous. Then it is a question of our, I mean, at least the way I look at it is whether I am doing it for my nice kind of strengthening my ego or for that reason, or my ego as a truthful person, my ego as a nice person, or because it is not helpful to the other. इस बारे में डिस्कस किया था ना, उसको में कहा गया कि truth should be spoken only when it is beneficial. It's such a dicey statement that you can use it for anything. You are expected to be wise to be able to discuss, and that means you have enough self-observation ability to find out कि आपको ये बात कहनी चाहिए कि नहीं कहनी चाहिए, तो इतना तो एरिया रहेगा ही, सेल्फ डिस्कस तो करना ही। इवन इन द इशू ऑफ द मोमेंट देयर इज ए सेल्फ इन्वॉल्व इन एनी एक्शन, आई वांट एक्स टू ग्राइंड पर्सनल मोटिव, देन शीला कैन बिकम क्वाइट obvious. But we should be able to see, अगर वो नहीं देख पाएंगे तो उसको जस्टिफाई है।
Sometimes it's not clear कि ये आप कि इस थिंग की आप जो है अपने व्यू को ही सही समझते हैं, उसमें चैलेंज ये है कि आपका व्यू बना कैसे। It's not कि you want to believe कि आप ही का व्यू सही है, even if you want to believe otherwise, the question is any logical person made a view because he would have analyzed and then said yes, this is the right thing based on everything I know. तो उसके बाद अगर वो उसको सही नहीं समझेगा तो how will he live? If the person is inconsistent with his own basic views, how can he even survive? तो ये बड़ा tricky है कि why would you not think your views are right? Because if they were not right to begin with from your perspective, you won't even make those your views. एक ये issue है, तो unless you have more information, it's very hard to change that.
But there are some situations where even though information is available, you are not really understanding. आजकल आप बात करके देख लीजिए किसी से भी, उसको कहिए कि भाई झूठ बोलना ठीक नहीं है, मैं बोलता है जहाँ जरूरत पड़े बोल दो, क्या दिक्कत है। Now, it doesn't mean that the person is not aware. उसको कहोगे अगर मैं तेरे से झूठ बोल के तेरे को डिसीव करूँगा, तुझे कैसा लगेगा? So there is this unwillingness to take it to the hilt. अपने पे नहीं लेते ना, सेल्फ पे नहीं लेते, दूसरे पे लेते, वही प्रॉब्लम।
वही मैं कह रहा हूँ, जहाँ पर इतना ऑब्वियस होता है वहाँ तो हो जाता है, लेकिन जैसे ये बैड हेयर डे की बात की या बैड क्लोथ डे की बात की, अब कोई आदमी मान लीजिए अच्छी गाड़ी लेना चाहता है, अब उससे आप पूछिए क्यों चाहिए तेरे को अच्छी गाड़ी, यहाँ से वहाँ जाना है, कोई भी ले ले, साधारण सी गाड़ी ले ले, अच्छी क्यों चाहिए? तो बेस्ड ऑन हु यू टॉक टू उसके अलग अलग 10 रीजन आएंगे, जिनमें से कुछ ऐसे होंगे कि बहुत अच्छे से जस्टिफाई हो रहा है कि नहीं, मेरा ऐसा नहीं कि मुझे अपनी इमेज प्यारी है इसलिए मुझे अच्छी गाड़ी चाहिए, ये ज़्यादा कन्वीनियंट है, ये ज़्यादा कंफर्टेबल है, मेरी फैमिली को ये ज़्यादा अच्छी लगती है, इसीलिए मैं ले रहा हूँ। इनफैक्ट अब आप कहोगे कि अगर मैं नहीं ले रहा, फिर भी नहीं ले रहा, तो शायद मैं दूसरी तरफ केयर कर रहा हूँ कि नहीं, मेरी एक इमेज है कि मुझे लग्जरीज में इंडल्ज नहीं करना, इसीलिए मैं ये नहीं ले रहा। तो ये बड़ा अनक्लियर सा हो जाता है कि आप वो करके किसी इमेज से अटैच हो रहे हो या वो ना करके अटैच हो रहे हो। बीइंग योरसेल्फ इटसेल्फ इट्स नॉट समटाइम्स क्लियर कि जो आर्ग्यूमेंट्स आते हैं उससे ये कई बार क्लियर नहीं होता कि आर यू बीइंग योरसेल्फ और आर यू नॉट बीइंग योरसेल्फ।
It needs a lot of ability to introspect and be able to figure out कि अंदर क्या हो रहा है. That's why the need for practice arises. Otherwise, so if things are so clear, there's no need of any practice. You could have a computer program. इधर करो किधर करो, कर दो. Isn't it? And prepare a matrix and decide. So there is that is the real beauty of uncertainty. And that is where we say things are not in control, really. तो गलती हो जाती है।
एक और एग्जांपल जो अभी दिमाग में आया कि ऑब्वियसली किसी को बुरा बोलोगे, दुख पहुंचाओगे, वो शील कवर शायद कर लेगा कि मैं क्यों करें, लेकिन देयर आर केसेस स्पेशली इन फैमिली, फ्रेंड्स, रिलेटिव्स वेयर आप कुछ कहना चाहते हो लेकिन इसलिए नहीं कह रहे कि उससे दूसरे को इनडायरेक्टली दुख पहुंचेगा, चाहे आप जो चाहते हो वो बिल्कुल ठीक है और आप कहना भी चाहते फिर भी नहीं कहते। अब वहां पर देयर इज दिस डिलेमा कि भाई जस्ट बिकॉज आई वांट टू बी सीन एज पोलाइट एंड वेरी कंसिडरेट, मैं कोई बात नहीं कह रहा और मैं अपना वो रोक के बैठा हूँ। अब यू आर नॉट बीइंग योर नेचुरल सेल्फ, तो अगर आप उस थ्योरी से जाएं कि भाई ये हम
question is not being polite and kind. That's not the question. Question is whether I am saying something to her, not to be unpleasant words.
The goal is not to be unpleasant, but the effect is that you will be unpleasant.
So it's all right. That is all right.
I don't know whether it is all right.
No, according to the teachings of the Buddha, I'm saying, it says one should have, when if the thing is beneficial. Beneficial word is important. And unpleasant. He says Tathagata knows the right time to say.
No, but unpleasant to who? What I'm saying is
unpleasant to speak to the other person.
Right, but by not speaking, I'm expressing something.
No, he is not saying not speak. He says speak it at the appropriate time. If it is unbeneficial, don't speak. If the statement you are making is not going to benefit him anyway, it will only create more confusion for him. No need to speak it. That's the point. Now, obviously, you may say, how do you decide what is beneficial? Now, that will depend on my judgment. It may be wrong. So if I have that notion of I is not strong, then I don't worry about committing mistakes.
I'm actually trying to make a slightly different point. This is not just about being beneficial or not being beneficial to the other person. What I'm saying is, someone, let's say, is suppressing herself or himself from asking for something or saying something because they know that the other person will feel not so good about it. Even when from this person's perspective, asking or saying that is good for him or her. But उसे भी सप्रेस कर रहे हैं क्योंकि दूसरे को बुरा लग सकता है। चाहे गोल उनको बुरा लगने का नहीं है, So if this person has some expectation, वो अपनी expectation को रोक के बैठा हो कि नहीं मैं ये नहीं मांगूंगा क्योंकि उससे दूसरे को लगेगा कि यार ये क्यों मांग लिया. It's a completely hypothetical case, but it's that subtle case that I am talking about. अब इस केस में अगर वो suppress करके रहता है तो उसकी भी internally disturbance हो रही है. So then you say the person is not being natural self क्योंकि उसका एक side effect बोलने से होगा कि दूसरे को बुरा लगेगा. अब वो दोनों को justify किया जा सकता है. तो ये जिस थिंग कि आप बच्चे होते हैं तो आप 5 ड्रेसेस पहन लेते हैं वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन जब आप बड़े होते हैं और एक्वायर करते हैं ये चीज़ें तो उसमें ये डूज और डोंट्स जो आ जाते हैं जिसकी वजह से आप रिजिड होते हैं उसकी एक सोसाइटी में वैल्यू नहीं है. अब इट्स वेरी हार्ड टू से कि स्पिरिचुअलिज्म में वो जो एक्वायर किया वो नेसेसरली बैगेज है या कई बार मतलब आई डोंट नो हाउ टू से कि नहीं वो जो नेचुरल सेल्फ नहीं रह गए. और जहाँ पर शीला बहुत क्लियर आंसर नहीं देगी भाई आप अपने को सप्रेस कर रहे हैं वो भी ठीक नहीं है. आप कुछ ऐसा भी नहीं है कि कुछ इलीगल या इलेजिटिमेट बोल रहे हैं, स्टिल किसी को हर्ट कर सकते हैं. तो उस केस में ये जो डिसीजन है आप इस आर्टिकल को पढ़ के कहेंगे कि नो आई शुड बी माई सेल्फ, मेरा गोल तो उसको हर्ट करने का नहीं है, वो बुरा उसको लगेगा तो लगेगा बोल दो. अदर एंड से मुझे पता है उसको बुरा लगेगा, चलो मैं सप्रेस कर लेता हूँ. पता नहीं इसका कैसे रिजोल्यूशन किया जाए.
नहीं सप्रेस करने का इम्पैक्ट मतलब ये होता है मेरी समझ में कि I have a strong what word should I use?
I have a strong desire, yet I am not.
I have a strong desire. Now I should be able to see if I have a good observation ability whether the desire is something which is for my good and for his good, basically. If I can see that it is for the good of both, then there is no issue.
Then there is no issue. But if it's in the good of one,
it is in the good of one, and it happens to be in my good apparently, and to harm others, it may be unpleasant. If it harms others, then obviously it is a question of compassion. You see, when a mother wakes up at midnight for her child, it's not good for her. It's unpleasant to her. So she does it because of compassion for the child.
let's say the other person is jealous.
The person
Is jealous.
jealous.
And you know that he is jealous or she is jealous. And that if you help someone else, there is a jealousy that will be arisen.
कैसे मतलब why should jealousy arise?
फैमिली में सास बहू और इस तरह के बहुत
हमने
हुए कि
let us
उसको
take
फेवर
a-
किया उसको जेलसी हो गई. बट बहुत कॉमन सिनेरियो हर उसमें सीरियल में दिखा देते हैं. व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज नाउ यू हैव टू मेक अ बैलेंस बिटवीन मैं इनके सामने इनको फेवर करता हूँ या कोई हेल्प करता हूँ तो इनको दुख होता है. एंड यू डोंट थिंक कि वो दुख जस्टिफाइड है क्योंकि आप कहते हैं वो तो जेलसी से अराइज हो रहा है तो ये गलत फीलिंग है, नहीं होना चाहिए. बट देयर इज अ कंपैशन विच से मुझे पता है जब मैं ये करूँगा वो और तकलीफ होगी. आप उसको सप्रेस करोगे तो वो खुश है बट उधर प्रॉब्लम है, आपको भी प्रॉब्लम है.
One has to be tactful. That's the question
So-
of tact.
No, but what I'm saying is then you can't be your natural self.
When you are living
And
in
that being your natural self has its challenges. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because your natural self would say, यार मैं गलत क्या कर रहा हूँ, तो ठीक है.
no doubt. But then that's why he says, no, you know the right time to say. So if I have a situation where my helping you makes him jealous, I'll help you in a manner that he will enjoy it.
And I think one thing is that I see one aspect of you that natural is to be natural for this, for both of you. For example, are you okay by doing one thing or are you okay by doing the other thing? But eventually,
You're doing an analysis, ना?
no, I'm not saying.
Your natural instinct should be हाँ मैं उसकी मदद कर दूँ. फिर आपको थॉट आता है जो आपने एक्वायर किया है पाल बिहेवियर से कि यार इस बंदे को तकलीफ हो जाती है. So then you are not doing your natural self. आप सोच के अपना बिहेवियर चेंज कर रहे हैं.
So that is what I'm saying. Being natural is not predefined by whether you follow your past conditioning or not follow it. Natural is what at that moment you technically did. Are you okay with that also? A child may wear 5 dresses because उसकी past conditioning नहीं है. The child is okay with that. Right?
दिस आर्गुमेंट से सभी कुछ नेचुरल हो जाएगा. आप कुछ भी करो इट्स नेचुरल क्योंकि आपने किया, दैट मींस यू आर ओके विद इट.
I think we will have to use all the text that does our thing, but we will not take it kind of personally. This is what needed to be done. This is the best I could do in this complex situation. Being naturally being okay with it.
So that's what I'm saying.
नेचुरल और इंस्टिंक्चुअल में फर्क करना. Whether we are saying by following instincts we mean natural, or whether we are following by following wisdom we mean natural. So natural, in my understanding, is like being wise with whatever extent of wisdom we have, so that we don't feel uncomfortable in doing something.
Yeah, but it's no one based on the limitation of their wisdom will say I'm not using my wisdom and therefore doing something that. Based on their limited wisdom, they are doing the right thing.
And then they will suffer. So,
correct.
That is the
So what I'm
mechanism
saying
of
is then
nature.
everything is anyway natural.
That natural mechanism of
From their
nature.
perspective, it's always natural.
The most unnatural thing in this is to feel bad about what you have done. Most unnatural thing is to be not okay with what contains the wisdom that you have acquired from conditioning, what it contains, what you thought from your wisdom is the tactful way to handle this. It contains all of it. What is unnatural is to not to be okay.
Anything which we do and makes us feel uncomfortable is basically an indicator that something has gone wrong in that process. If we are natural, our experience, all of our experiences, and we are free.
That I agree with.
You're naturally
That
free.
I agree
There's
with.
nothing which feels you constrained and you don't feel, loaded up and heaviness and all those kind of restless, minimal restlessness. Something or the other will always happen when you're not truly.
No, I completely agree with that. That we should not feel uncomfortable if you are being natural. The problem is there are situations in life where you have two paths and both will lead to some discomfort.
Are you okay with the discomfort?
If I am okay
That is
with it,
natural.
No one is fundamentally okay with discomfort. People learn to be okay with discomfort, but basically, as you're saying, if you are completely natural, you should not be uncomfortable.
Because I think that is where the taking personally comes. If as a person, at the convention level, you tried your best, with whatever wisdom
I
you
understand
had,
what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, to me, that is the second point. The basic point of that. I'm still focusing on the point the author makes about the childlike naturality of the behavior and how that leads to very spontaneous and comfortable living. I agree. The problem is as you grow,
you have constraints.
You have constraints and you just cannot be that natural.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Within those constraints also one can be natural. That is the point. That's obviously much more difficult. That makes it more difficult. Within the constraints, if I understand those constraints as what they are, this is the way the game has to be played. It's like we play football with all those regulations. So those rules and regulations of the football are constraints in one way, but other side they are rules of the game. So we play. So we don't feel if a referee blows a whistle, a good player, that's okay. But if you are not a good player, you say, हर बार ऐसे बजाता है, कभी हर बार कोई कार्ड दिखा देता है, क्या हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है? Then you start fighting with the rules and regulations. So, if you see the whole thing in that proper perspective.
then that's all. The doorway to find out whether you are natural or not is to see your uncomfortableness in it. That is the door. That will tell you that you are not natural.
That is natural nature reaction, nature's feedback. Right?
Nature's feedback. Even though with bodily action, body includes mind, body response together, you've done what needs to be done. Still being uncomfortable is the fundamentally unnatural thing. Which the child does not have. Because he does not have a lot of conditioning. But when we try to reinforce that with this, we say that, this big difference because उसकी conditioning नहीं हमारी conditioning है. But that's how that's what the doorway is. The child is not uncomfortable. That is why we are calling it natural. And we could be similarly not uncomfortable even after doing all of those conditioned things.
So see the conditioning as a schedule of the game.
So a child, some children steal, right? And they would be quite comfortable with it if we did not tell them that it was wrong. No, if no one ever told them in life that it's wrong to pick up someone's thing without asking, they may be comfortable with it.
When somebody will pick up their thing, then they will become fair. You're right. As long as they are successful, the moment somebody else picks up their thing, they will feel bad, and there the confusion starts.
And if you are in a society where everybody is okay to take each other's things, then there is no stealing.
Yeah. When we are sharing, अब घर में जैसे हम शेयर करते हैं चीज़ों को, it's not say कि तुमने बिस्किट खा लिए घर पे लाए थे तो they are part of the everybody's belong to everybody, things belong to everybody.
वो अगर एक बच्चे ने सब गेम ला वो तो कहता है ना ये मेरा चीज़ ना खेल लाओ चोरी चोरी है
हाँ नहीं उसको समझ में है ना, लेकिन जब उसका खिलौना दूसरे छीनेगा तब उसको समझ में आ जाएगा यदि गड़बड़ है, अच्छा नहीं लगता।
मेरा खिलौना खेलना नहीं ये मेरा खिलौना है। आम बच्चे
वो दूसरी बात है, चोरी की भी तो करते हैं ना बच्चे स्कूलों में जैसे।
वो चोरी होती है।
हाँ
वो पता ही नहीं चलता बच्चों को भी बैग से निकाल लिया
खिलौना करते हैं, उसकी बैग से निकाल लिया, पेन से निकाल लिया, पेंसिल निकाल ली, रबड़ निकाल लिया, तो दे आर नॉट अवेयर। बट जब उनकी पेन उसके बस्ते से निकालेगा तब उसको समझ में आती है ये तो गड़बड़ हो गई।
कि जब वो मांग के ले रहा है वर्सेस अदर थिंग, उसको कुछ पसंद आया उसने ले लिया, अनकॉन्शियसली ले लिया, वर्सेस उसने कॉन्शियस एफर्ट की कि उसको ना पता चले कि मैं ले रहा हूँ, दैट इज स्टीलिंग। और अगर कोई और आपके साथ ही कॉन्शियस एफर्ट करेगा कि आपके बिना पता चले आपसे कुछ ले लेगा।
Yeah, so the larger point is some discomfort is also negative. क्योंकि इस डिस्कम्फर्ट से ही आप कुछ चीजें सीखते हो जिंदगी में कि ये गलत है, दैट्स द पॉइंट। सफरिंग इज अ पार्ट, डिस्कम्फर्ट के नेचुरलनेस नहीं आ सकती कंप्लीट। सफरिंग इज इवेंचुअली यू विल बिकम नेचुरल विद द डिस्कम्फर्ट आल्सो, वो सेकंड रिवाइंड कर रहा है। That's why you say nature's mechanism. Suffering is a nature's mechanism of telling us something is wrong. Fine. Whenever you feel discomfort, stress, correct. It's a nature's way of telling us what we did. Because मैं वही बार-बार उस पॉइंट पे जा रहा था कि एकदम फ्री फ्लोइंग नेचर ऑफ लाइफ और जहाँ कभी कोई डिस्कम्फर्ट ना हो, यू कैन कीप डूइंग व्हाटएवर यू फील लाइक, वो स्टेट ऑफ एन अर्न। हाँ वो it's a fully liberated person.
Fully liberated person. The uncomfortableness that we have in ourselves is nature's way of telling us that we should go and investigate. That is what I think the point is. Because that is the doorway. If we start to see that, if we just see our uncomfortableness, the first thing that happens is that we become disassociated. Then it becomes not my uncomfortableness, but just uncomfortableness because the situation is uncomfortable. It's not me that is uncomfortable. That's the first thing that happens. And I think uske baad it just becomes the conventional responses of what we are doing. But it's not that you say that it is me that is getting on. वो जो एक point है ना आपने उसमें बोला भी था. So that's which happens.
When John Lennon seems to be a very insightful person, just a singer, but मैंने एक दो तीन points और भी उसकी पढ़ी थी, very very insightful. When he is a singer ना, he Beatles का he is a part of it. He was a lead song, and they were like not just for the quality of music but also the lyrics were philosophy. अलग ही कल्चर, वो डिफरेंट कल्चर था। आजकल तो पता नहीं चलता क्या हो रहा है, शब्दों का तो कोई महत्व नहीं रह गया, गॉन बियॉन्ड वर्ड्स। ऋषिकेश में रहते हैं कुछ टाइम, फिर वो रविशंकर जी के साथ भी उन्होंने किया था।
वो वाला टाइम था जो
मिस्टिसिज्म, स्पिरिचुअलिज्म, म्यूजिक सब जो है
और फिर LSD और
बट साथ में वो सब भी शुरू हो
ये
गया।
सब साइकेडेलिक एक्सपेरिमेंट्स।
यहाँ पे था ना उसका कुछ एक बहुत अच्छा लगा था मुझे, प्रार्थना हमने भी की थी।
इमेजिन
इमेजिन नाम पोएम बाय द नेम इमेजिन थी ना। और भी उनके देखे थे जो उसी तरह के वर्डिंग्स, वेरी एंड दैट वाज वेरी इंसाइटफुल कमेंट। Imagine there is no countries, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. It's very powerful to just even think about it.
Imagine there is no heaven, it's easy if you try, no hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there is no country, it isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I am a dreamer, but I am not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions, I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I am a dreamer, but I am not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will live as one.
Great, great. From this, I don't know whatever you are talking about. DJ चाय इसको बंद कर दीजिए। Okay, just say thanks and you can say.
So we're closing now. Thank you guys.
Any questions?
Is there a question? We can take that.
हमारे ऐसे नॉर्मल एंगेजमेंट कुछ नहीं है, नॉर्मल एंगेजमेंट कोई फंक्शन नहीं हुआ, शादी पे अभी टाइम दिसंबर में शादी
Cool. आपने एंगेजमेंट होती है आपकी?
हमारे